Let's bring in James. Picking up from what Kate was saying about François Hollande being basically in stuck. His rating down to how low?
4%.
4%. That is a record he doesn't want, I'm sure.
A little bit more than 0, 1, 2 and 3%. 4%.
4%.
Really low.
4% approval rating.
What I was thinking earlier is, you know the way they talk about the 99% and the 1%?
Yeah.
He's dangerously close to being accused of actually literally representing the 1%. But anyway, we're not there yet. This is a poll that was conducted by CEVIPOF for Sciences Po Research Institute. And now what some are pointing out as perhaps one saving grace in this poll in terms of how François Hollande can argue that it's not record low is you can see there 70% answered that they are dissatisfied. That's the red line on top. 4% are satisfied, the blue line at the bottom, but 26% answered that they were neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. So that could have, I suppose, diverted some maybe a bit satisfied
that question
people
wouldn't
away.
be asked. Usually that
exactly,
question would not
that's
be
not
asked. Okay.
generally asked in this sort of a poll. So it could skew that figure. That 4% could be maybe a little bit lower than other polls.
The headline is 4% satisfaction rating.
That's exactly it. That is the headline, and it's a bad headline. And I'll just show you, first of all, some of the reactions on social media. They're obviously being a little bit cheeky. What does François Hollande have in common with low-fat yogurt? Don't you usually see something about 4% fat, whatever, even though they're not talking about fat here. Anyway, Hollande, 4% approval rating. One person pointing out that these polls often have a margin of error of some 3%, which would actually bring him down to that horrible figure that he definitely wants to avoid. Another person here saying that his daughter rather, is going to be doing negative numbers in school soon. And this is kind of a way of explaining the build-up to negative numbers. Anyway, he's not there yet. But this poll was conducted for Le Monde, which is a newspaper that supported François Hollande's candidacy last time round. Here's Libération, another left-wing newspaper. And look at the headline they have on this. Hollande, could he actually hit 0? So this is the left-wing press criticising a socialist president on the basis of these poll results.
Good to see the left-wing press not hiding its head in the sand.
That's right. The only one that sort of made the point that I made, in fact, about the method of polling being a little bit unclement is Marianne. Now, what that all begs the question, doesn't it, of... well, first of all, I'll just show this before we get to what's going to happen on the political left for the next election. Alain Juppé in the same poll is now broadening that lead ahead of Nicolas Sarkozy because, of course, on the political right, there are primaries coming up next month to determine who will run for the mainstream right.
So Juppé, 11-point lead over Sarkozy.
That's right. Juppé also responded to François Hollande's very negative poll results, saying it's worrying. But of course, it's less worrying for him because it means he's now certainly looking very good in terms
there,
of...
but for the grace of God go I might be what he was thinking.
Maybe so. A few years in the Elysée would sort that out. In any case, the whole question now on the political left is François Hollande going to present... Is he going to actually be the candidate on the political left? We're all being kept in suspense about that. A lot of people thinking Manuel Valls would be the natural choice for another candidate on the political left. But are they going to have primaries to select their candidate? That's the big question. Now, everybody's saying Valls was well placed. Even Plan 2 for Le Monde had this cartoon showing Manuel Valls as Plan B or Plan B. They're being very funny here because Plan B also sounds a bit like sunk, right?
Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah.
Anyway... the plot thickens, Mark, because according to Le Point, Manuel Valls has decided he is not going to be a candidate. Why? Because other polls or estimates say that he wouldn't make it past the first round of the presidential election, even if he were the candidate for the political left. So he himself...
Wasn't he the most popular person in the whole sort of left?
I guess, but an
outgoing
unpopular government, he's probably too tied to that. Also, would he even get the candidacy of the Socialist Party, seeing as he's not particularly left-wing as a Socialist Party candidate? So there are lots of reasons why he has probably decided strategically this is a bad idea for me, and I'm not. I'm going to... What they're saying here quite clearly in Le Point is he's holding out for 2022. So he's saying, look, I don't want to, go down with the ship this time round. I'm going to keep my powder dry, so to speak. So there you go.
How can you keep your powder dry when the ship is sinking, James? That's the question that I'm left asking.
It needs an animator to respond to that, I think. Now, in the midst of all of this, you have, of course, the police who have been striking and demonstrating. There were 150 of them on front of the courts today, saying that court decisions are too laxist on crimes that target the police. Now, the judges have responded to that, saying that's a completely unfair charge. In fact, in July, we hit the record a record in France, a new record for incarcerations. So the police are up in arms. They are very critical of the state for lack of resources, critical of the judicial system. And in the midst of all of that, you've got a very, very, very fragile
Judges
presidency.
convicting more, putting more people in the jails that are already overcrowded. And of course, François Hollande in this book that's going around, of course, criticised the judges. So it's all this horrible sort of vicious circle of criticism going on, isn't it?
That's right. We need to.
Amazing stuff. I'm glad you're here to explain it all.
Well,
James,
we need an election, I think.
I need to stop you
clear
there,
it all
sir.
there.
Thank you very much indeed. James
Thanks,
with the
Mark.
Media Watch. Great to see you.